How's it going, everybody? My name is LuckyBunz, and in today's video we're going to be going over Swinub Community Day and how good Mamoswine actually is in Pokemon Go. Now with that being said, as always, before we go and get started, if you guys do end up enjoying this video, if you do find it helpful, please make sure to smash that like button down below. It helps me out a ton with the YouTube algorithm. But with that being said, let's go and get started. Alright, so first of all, Swinub Community Day Classic is going to take place on April 29th from 2 to 5 p.m. your local time. Now when it comes down to the special bonuses, we're going to have 3-hour lure modules and incense like normal. The special bonus is going to be 3 times Catch Stardust, super hyped about that. And then we're also going to be getting a timed research, which is going to award Sinnoh Stones. So if you don't have that many Sinnoh Stones right now and you kind of need them to evolve into Mamoswine, don't worry about it, you can get them from the timed research. And then we're also going to have field research, where you can also get Sinnoh Stones in addition to Stardust and Swinub. And then of course we're also going to have the 5 snapshots, which are going to feature 5 free Swinub right there. So if you guys just need a few extra shiny checks, go ahead and do that. But that's pretty much going to take care of all the bonuses. Like usual, Community Day Classics don't have as many as a normal comm day, but it's still pretty good considering that most of the time we do end up getting 3 times Catch Stardust. Alright, moving on over to the exclusive moveset though, Ancient Power. So once again, we've talked about this moveset a few years ago. It's really not the best when it comes down to Mamoswine, and we're going to get into that here in a second. But if you do want it for whatever reason, you're going to have from 2 to 7 p.m. your local time to evolve your Mamoswine to get this moveset. But once again, I really wouldn't recommend it. The reason for that is because Mamoswine's other movesets are just so much better. And not to mention, it's not really going to do you that good in the Master League, right? Ideally, you want to be running Avalanche and High Horsepower. Ancient Power doesn't do much for its coverage, at least in terms of Mamoswine. If we're talking about a Pokemon like Togekiss, for example, with Ancient Power, that is a much different story. But for Mamoswine, we're going to have to go with a pass on this one, and I'll explain this more in detail as we go into the raid section as well as the PvP section for Mamoswine. So let's take a look at that right now. We're going to talk about Mamoswine first in the raid category, and we're going to be looking at 2 typings, right? Because Mamoswine is both a ground type as well as an ice type. So starting off as a ground type attacker, ideally you want to run Mud Slap plus High Horsepower on your Mamoswine. Now High Horsepower was added to Mamoswine's move pool towards the end of last year. Now I did actually cover this in a video last year because this was a huge update for this Pokemon. It pretty much bumped it up to the same level as Rhyperior with Mud Slap and Earthquake, which is pretty good. I mean, it's not going to be like the best of the best, but that's still a significant boost right there in terms of the ground type category. It was also a much better moveset for PvP, which we're going to talk about a little bit later on in this video. Now in terms of your other options though, Groudon with Precipice Blades is still going to be the best of the best. That is going to be the GOAT of the ground type category. Not to mention it also has the Primal Mega Evolution as well, which just bumps it up to, you know, an even better place. But in general, just Groudon with Precipice Blades, like that's ideally the Pokemon you want to go with there. Garchomp with Earth Power and even Landorus Therian form with Earthquake are also going to be better than Mamoswine. Although again, to make, you know, it very, very clear here, Groudon with Precipice Blades is like 5 to 6 points higher than Garchomp and Landorus in its Therian form on the ER scale, so that's a significant difference, guys. Like, that's a huge difference. That being said though, if you don't have any of those Pokemon, then you definitely need to get your hands on some Mamoswine during this comm day to build out your ground type attacker team. Now when it comes down to Mamoswine as an ice type attacker, you ideally want to run Powder Snow plus Avalanche, and unlike its presence in the ground type category, Mamoswine actually ranks as the best non-mega, non-shadow option that you can use. Your next best option would be Glaceon. Now I also want to cover Shadow Mamoswine really quick for those of you that have Swinub with Frustration removed. Now this isn't so much that you're going to need to evolve it during this comm day, but it's just more of a reason to, you know, really grind out the candy to power up a potential Shadow Mamoswine in the future with either Avalanche or High Horsepower, depending on how you want to run it. I'm going to make that pretty clear right now which one you ideally want to go with though. So going back to the ground type category, Shadow Mamoswine ranks right below Groudon with Precipice Blades. That being said though, most of you know that Shadow Pokemon cost significantly more, and you can't lucky trade them. So unless you really want to add Shadow Mamoswine to your team, I would actually hold off on this investment, because you are better off waiting for a Groudon with Precipice Blades coming back into rotation, or potentially trying to secure one from a lucky trade. This would be the smarter investment in my opinion. Now when it comes down to the ice type category though, this is a different story, as in my opinion this is definitely a better investment for Shadow Mamoswine, at least until we get Shadow Galarian Darmanitan into the game, which I have no idea when that's going to happen. As of right now though, Shadow Mamoswine is the best Ice-type attacker in the game by a long shot. The next best options are Shadow Weavile and Galarian Darmanitan in its normal form. So for perspective here, a level 30 Shadow Mamoswine is going to deal more damage than a level 40 Galarian Darmanitan. So when it comes down to the opportunity cost here, even though Shadow Pokemon cost more to power up, powering up one to level 30 is still going to be less than powering up a Pokemon to level 40 in its normal version. So yeah, I'm going to highly recommend you actually work on getting a Shadow Mamoswine for your Ice-type team, opposed to the Ground-type team, because you really don't need it there, but Ice-types, yeah, that's definitely going to make a huge difference. So with that being said, Mamoswine has clearly proven that it's a fantastic raid attacker, either in the Shadow form or just its regular form. But what about PvP? Well, Mamoswine's only relevance is going to be in the Master League. I mean, you really don't want to run this Pokemon in the Great League or the Ultra League, so we're not going to cover that. But because Classic Cups no longer exist, you're going to have to get one of these bad boys to level 50. Now this shouldn't really be a problem if you grind effectively during Community Day, but it's still going to require a lot of Stardust to power up. So what I would recommend is trying to get a lucky version of Mamoswine with a good IV spread, you know, something like a 98 or potentially even the hundo, and this way you can actually minimize the amount of Stardust you have to spend on powering this thing up to level 50. I mean, it literally cuts it in half, guys, so that's a huge difference when powering up one of these guys to level 50. That being said though, let's go back to PvP here for a second. Mamoswine ranks as number 23 in the Master League currently, with its Shadow variant at rank 36. Now guys, getting a Shadow Hundo is completely... I mean, that's just ridiculous. That's so difficult to get, and I don't expect many of you to have a Shadow Hundo Mamoswine, let alone a Shadow 98 or anything along those lines. But if you do, just know that it does rank a little bit below the normal version, so, you know, in this scenario, you don't want to really spend more Stardust to get a less superior version of a Pokemon, so just go with the normal version over the Shadow. Now, ideally for the moveset, you want to be running Powder Snow plus Avalanche and High Horsepower. Pretty much the same movesets that we just talked about in the raid category, so you're going to get dual functionality out of this Pokemon. Really, really awesome. Alright, now let's take a look at PvPoke really quick, and then we're going to go over some of the key wins and losses you can expect from Mamoswine. So some of the key wins you can expect when running Mamoswine in the Master League are going to be against Garchomp, Giratina in its origin form, Lugia, which is a huge one because that's actually the #1 Master League Pokemon right now in the game, Dialga, and Mewtwo. So some really solid matchups right there. Of course, you are going to have key losses though against Groudon, Ho-Oh, Zacian in its hero form, Gyarados, and Swampert, but of course you can build your team to effectively counter those Pokemon. But still guys, I mean, getting an advantage over Lugia, that is huge. That is such a common Pokemon I've seen in the Master League. I also see Mewtwo really often as well. I don't see Dialga as often anymore these days, but you know, Lugia for sure I do see a lot, so that's going to be a huge advantage right there to having a level 50 Mamoswine for the Master League. And once again, ideally, you do want to have the Hundo here, or potentially a 98 at the very least with 15 attack. And then if we take a look at the Shadow variant really quick, we can see that the key wins and key losses don't vary too much, although we do have a key loss against Mewtwo now, whereas we did win that matchup with Mamoswine in its normal version. So something to take away there, and then we do take a key win against Gyarados, whereas we would lose that one in the normal matchup. So of course there are going to be benefits to having the Shadow over the normal version, but again, I would just recommend going with the normal version, ideally a lucky version as well, to save you some Stardust. So in conclusion, while many players might be taking a break from Pokemon Go right now due to Niantic's recent changes to the game, I still think this is going to be a great community day that you're not going to want to miss. For example, if you're a newer player, you can build out teams for both your ground type and ice type categories, in addition to getting a ton of Stardust from that special bonus, right? 3 times catch Stardust is an amazing bonus to have during a calm day. Now as always, I'd recommend catching and evolving your highest level Swinub with the best IVs possible. This will help you create battle ready teams with a minimal Stardust investment, always my go-to recommendation for newer players or for anybody who really just doesn't have these Pokemon built out for their respective teams, so ground type and ice type categories. And then if you are a veteran player, this is going to be a great opportunity to secure enough extra large candy to finally get that Mamoswine to level 50 for Master League. I actually don't even have enough yet. I think I have like 180 extra large candy right now, so I need to finish off my level 50 Mamoswine. I have the Hundo. I think I got the Hundo during the first calm day for this, but you know, given that Swinub doesn't appear too often during events, I don't have the extra large candy for it yet. And yeah, with that being said, that pretty much covers everything I wanted to go over for Swinub Community Day Classic, but as always, I'd like to go through some additional tips and tricks for those of you guys who are newer or returning players to the game. So let's run through those right now. Alright, so first up, the fast catch trick. With or without AR method, most of you guys probably already use this, but for newer players, I highly recommend learning it to increase your catching speed. If you're ever wondering how some players catch so many Pokemon during these community days, this is how they do it. So make sure you guys learn how to do this, or at least you have your proficiency down before this calm day starts. Next up, we have creating a search tag for all of the Swinub that you want to evolve during Com Day. Once again, you're going to have until 7 p.m., but this isn't really so much of a recommendation to evolve it with Ancient Power. I would actually recommend evolving them after 7 p.m. because Ancient Power isn't really good for anything, like I've gone over in this video already. High Horsepower plus Avalanche are going to be your ideal movesets to have for PvP and then also for the raid/gym meta. Now, in addition to that, I also recommend using the 3-star and 4-star searches to find good IV spreads for your Mamoswine. This is going to be pretty critical because your Mamoswine ideally are going to be for the Master League, right? So you're not really going to need to look for PvP IVs, although I do have a video that goes over how to do that, which I'm going to link in the description down below as well. For whatever reason, if you still want to go for a Great League or Ultra League Mamoswine, you can do that right there. But again, guys, my recommendation here is mainly just for the Master League, so ideally the Hundo, but 3-star and 4-star should help you find maybe a potential 98 as well. The next tip I have for you guys is to have an active Mega Evolution running during this Com Day, so you're going to want to have one for either a ground type or ice type attacker, because that is what Swinub is going to be. So you have the options as follows: Swampert, Steelix, Groudon, Glalie, and Abomasnow. Now, whichever one of these you have at Mega Level 3, prioritize that over the others for increased candy and increased extra large candy raids during the event. I mean, seriously guys, I cannot recommend this enough. It makes a massive difference when you're grinding. Next up, let's talk about storage space. So generally, I do recommend a minimum of 100 open spots and ideally 250 plus. If you guys are having trouble though, check out my full storage management guide right here in the description down below or in the top right hand corner. Backspace, let's talk about this really quick. So red plus great and ultra balls, a minimum of 200 would be ideal, and ideally you want to have at least 500 plus just to get through the whole entire event. In addition to that, if you feel like you're going to have trouble getting the candy for this, which I don't think is going to be that big of an issue, but for some people it may be, pineapple berries, I recommend having at least 25 to 50 just to make sure that you get enough for a few evolutions here and there. And then finally, the Picnicker medals. So drop lure modules at your most popular grind spot when the event starts is going to help you get a ton of progress towards this medal. Basically, the way that this works is that you get 1 point every single time somebody catches a Pokemon off your lure module. If in the right location, you can make some great progress, especially since your lure module is going to last 3 hours during the event. With all that being said though, that's basically everything I have for you guys in this video. If you're still looking for some more content though, I'm going to recommend these 2 videos right here. And before you go, don't forget to smash that like button, subscribe, and I'll see you all real soon in the next one.